outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing.
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit crash sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well. Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
What a fitting place to end a championship season. This, the track which in 1989 and 1990 produced some of the greatest racing action and racing drama in terms of a rivaled history. When you talk about this track in terms of some amazing drivers who have graced this place, when you talk about some amazing races that have gripped the minds and the imaginations of so many people, get ready for the final round of the championship here at Suzuka. And for all the people with lumps in throat and anything else otherwise watching stupendous moves go on track, we welcome you to SimSpeed TV's coverage live and uninterrupted. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary box, joined alongside, as per usual, by Cam Dance here in the commentary box. This will be a very important final round for the season, and Cam, qualifying is currently underway. You've got 2 laps, you've got 8 minutes, as per the usual with this series, but what has been very crucial to talk about is championship, and if things look like they are today, the championship is already decided in by car number 2, Marco Sanfilippo, who is clear by a very substantial margin here today, 62 points clear, and his rival nowhere to be found for the 3rd time in 4 weeks, which means without any shadow of a doubt, Marco Sanfilippo is the champion of this season.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's been handed it on a silver platter in this season's edition of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. And, yep, it's going to be another win easily for Marco in the championship. So he'll be pretty stoked to that. And he's going to be going out here today to more or less just have some fun and get some laps under his belt to seal the deal once and for all.
Well, there's been some drivers who've had some fun as Danilo Sanfilippo sets the opening pace of 1:30.9, 3/10 back. Clayton McLeod is there in second. Jody Mills on a 32 flat goes third, but the eyes have to turn to car number 6 at the moment here, Cam. He is the driver who is just starting a lap, Ben Fuller. He is the man in form. He's got himself victories at the last 2 rounds of this championship and is really starting to crop up through the points through this late season. Doesn't have enough starts to make a really big dent, but if he looks to try and attack this next season for the championship, he could very much be one of the key title players over the season.
Yeah, absolutely. The pace he's shown over the past 2 rounds alone is pretty much, if he was there, he would have been pretty much in championship contention. So it's one of those things where he might not be in championship contention, but he certainly proved that if he had the points and he had the weeks counted, he definitely could be.
Alex Ahoya up into 3rd position right now with David Cudmore coming over the line to go to 4th in the car number 21. Here with a 1:31.8, so a good time. Marco Sanfilippo's first time's okay, but Chris Owen goes even quicker, 1:30.5 for his first lap, is 4/10 clear of anybody else at the moment. Some second times looking to jump in. John Pat Kelly goes to 4th, and there's Danilo Sanfilippo, who only finds 2/10, so Chris Owen right now in control of destiny.
Yeah, certainly a great lap time from Chris Owen to put himself on pole at the moment. But what's Ben Fuller going to do? 30.9 puts himself P3 for the moment. Sanfilippo, Danilo putting himself currently P2 with the second lap finally completed. So we'll see if anybody else can challenge Chris Owen in terms of lap time here in qualifying. But Chris has definitely had a lot of pace in qualifying as recent.
Here comes Taylor Sims with the most apt name for a sim racer over the line. 1:33 flat and goes bottom of the pack for the time being. Stefan Piotrowski, though, has gone to P5 in car number 9 with a 31.4. Here's a driver who's quietly been accruing the points here, Cam, and finds himself top 5 in the championship.
Yeah, certainly Ray Griffon has not been the quickest driver on the track in majority of the rounds, but he's just been chipping away, and Piotrowski has indeed been chipping away at those points and just been getting consistent finishes at the end of the day. So that's all you need in this sort of championship where you've got drivers making various different mistakes, as I've just seen him put it in the barrier, but nevertheless, Griffon comes across the line and does actually improve. So by about 6 thousandths, but just enough to improve.
Didn't feel confident. Those extra 6 thousandths could make a whole world of difference. Andreas Nielsen over the line for a 32 flat, goes 15th. So Marco Sanfilippo, get this, down on the 7th row of the grid, has work to do when it comes to this race. Someone who's going to have maybe struggles getting a good lap together as Ben Fuller over the line, 30.905, remains in 3rd place. Is one driver down at the bottom who hasn't set a time yet. Marcel van der Linden spun through the final corner, really backed the car up to try and get himself some semblance of a run, and really any time would be useful right now because as things stand, he would start 24th of 25 drivers because of his I rating. He is car 17. Only one driver of those who haven't set times has worse I rating than him, and that is car 22 of Joel Dickinson.
Yeah, so not quite going to be too ideal to start pretty much at the rear of the field, but we'll see what happens to him, whether he can try and at least come on through the field. He is on the 2nd lap, so I'll see if this lap indeed counts based on the fact that he is still on it. But coming into the final chicane now, looking reasonably like a tidy lap, but we'll see what lap time is when he comes across the line this time by.
Well, it was a compromise start to the lap, and it's a 33.5. That's where the compromising happened, so he's 8/10 off the pace. So this is how the grid's going to stack then here at Suzuka, with nobody out on track now able to improve on their times, except maybe Andreas Nielsen, who jumped up to 11th place overall with his improved time. So, Chris Owen will be on pole position with Danilo Sanfilippo, car number 1, alongside Ben Fuller. Eyes on Ben. He starts from 3rd with Clayton McLeod in 4th. Antonio Zaragoza starts from 5th position with Stefan Piotrowski 6th and John Pat Kelly in 7th. It's Ray Griffioen in 8th place. Great qualifying for him. Alex Ohuia starts 9th, and car 10, Jody Mills, starts from 10th place.
Then we go back to row 6, and it's going to be Andreas Nielsen and David Cudmore, followed by Kent Nielsen and Jerry Calgren on row 7. Row 8, Marco Sanfilippo starting all the way back in 15th. That's going to be a big task for him. Isaac Ruska on 16th. 17th to Wozciech Kusiak on 17th, and John Owens on 18th on row 9. Row 10 is going to be Taylor Sims and Jason Druzhensky rounding out the top 20.
Following that, Emilio Fernandez in 21st. You've got Adam Webb. Then there's Marcel van der Linden and the 2 drivers who didn't set times, Keith Calhoun and Joel Dickinson, here today at this Suzuka circuit. It's 35 laps they are going to have to need to make a pit stop, and it's going to be a very interesting battle for these drivers here today. They know what they need to do to finish off their season. Week 12, the iRacing release notes have just come out, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen them already, and my goodness, has it been a massive, massive update that they are going to be doing over the week 13, and there's so much great action that's going to come to SimSpeed, the iRacing Esports Network, and all across the sim racing sphere. If you haven't checked it out already, make sure that here on SimSpeed TV, you like, share, and subscribe for some more great action that will be coming your way, such as Max Bant on week 13 on the 6th of June, as well as so many other amazing events that will be coming up forward. Just waiting for a handful of drivers to get to the grid. Andreas Nielsen may choose to start from pit lane, as may Taylor Sims, who is right there going on. So Chris Owen will have the full 2-minute wait going on right now. It's a very quick run to turn 1, and this is going to be an interesting battle. He's got the nice clean side of the circuit though as the green flag drops. Let's get ourselves underway. Owen gets a good start. Danilo Sanfilippo did well. Zaragoza got a great one until he bogged down, and all of a sudden here comes Danilo looking for turn 1. Not going to find it. Trying to get through the second half of the corner. Owen struggles. Turned, and off goes 2 drivers. One is Ben Fuller, the other one is Antonio Zaragoza as they go through the S section for the first time. Are they all clean besides that? Yes, they are, but madness off the start.
Yeah, Ben Fuller just tried to go around the outside on the dirty side of the racetrack, and it didn't quite work out for him. He ended up making a bit of side-by-side contact with Chris Owen. I do wonder if Chris is going to be possibly carrying a little bit of damage out of that car. Looks to be okay, but we'll see what happens. And currently, Alex Hoyer doing a fantastic job at the moment to hold off Chris Owen.
Yep, exactly. He's doing well. Marco Sanfilippo's had a great start. Contact there. Ken Nielsen getting himself involved with Ray Griffioen down at the hairpin, the Kobayashi hairpin, some would say. Just a little bit late on the brakes, trying to get it all slowed up. And Griffioen just gets absolutely sent like the SpaceX rocket. So that was not ideal at all for the opening laps proceedings here at Suzuka. It's a tough track at the best of times. And now all of a sudden, Kent Nielsen. So there's Nielsen and Nilsson out on track. Here's some Noah's Ark. Chris Owen struggling here. That's a slowdown penalty. Thread the needle 3 wide, why don't we, onto 130R. One of the most famous corners in all of racing. And Sanfilippo staying behind for the moment, but on the brakes at the Casio triangle. Just about slows it up.
Yeah, Sanfilippo making some very, very aggressive and quick moves to move on through this field. Obviously, not the best qualifying that he's had so far in the season, but he's already up into P5 and P15, so already up 10 spots.
He absolutely is. Fuller and Owen both down in on the lane. This is Zaragoza having to defend here from Cudmore as they go into turn number 1. Not quite close enough, and yes, off in the background. You've absolutely seen that there. That's Kent Nielsen again, finding himself in a moment side by side and gets a tap going through 2 into 1. Well, it does not go.
Yeah, it certainly didn't quite go too well for those 2 drivers. John Pat Kelly coming off a lot more better than the car of Kent Nielsen did, but nevertheless, Sanfilippo just absolutely driving away from McLeod here at the front of the field.
He is, and this is key. The gap was 0.8 of a second when they crossed the line. So Danilo Sanfilippo leads. Clayton McLeod second. Stefan Piotrowski in 4th. Hoyer is 4th. And Marco Sanfilippo's up 10 places into 5th position overall. A wonderful start from Marco Sanfilippo, avoiding the landmines left and right. When it comes to this one, Chris Owen has been down on the lane for a very long time, and I wonder if the suspension damage that he's had is pretty much going to put an end to what has been a rotten season so far by his standards. Could have fought for the championship, but ultimately struggles. And there is Marco Sanfilippo going through at 130R on Alex Ahoya for 4th place.
Yeah, very, very easy move, and probably Ahoya gave that one to Sanfilippo as he knew there's no point fighting. You're so much quicker just going by, and he'll use the draft off Sanfilippo to try and carry him along, but we'll see what happens.
Taylor Sims goes for a spin at the triangle, trying to put the power down, puts too much on it, and ultimately you need a little bit less mustard to go through with that. There's some good battling going on, but it all stems from Marcel van der Linden here in 12th place. He's holding off a massive train. Emilio Fernandez, Adam Webb, you got Keith Calhoun and Joel Dickinson in there. Nielsen trying to get back in, Griffey Owen trying to get back in, as well as the other Nielsen, but a different spelling of Nielsen. So you got a huge 7-car train, the car in the wall. It's Marcel van der Linden. Just as we was talking about the train he was holding behind, he has a big go around down at the S's, and he hits the tyres.
Yeah, big moment there for the car of Marcel van der Linden. As you can just see, he's coming through turn 1 and just going to lose the rear end at some point. Just coming through the first section of the S's, yep, over the curb, and that was it. Pretty much just loses the rear end barely, but manages to hold on.
Here looks Jody Mills trying to get past John Pat Kelly, but backs out of it into the spoon curve. A double apex left-hand corner, which falls away off camber in the second half. You need to be committed to get a move done at that section of road, and Jody Mills wisely backing out. Behind Jody Mills, you've got Wojciech Kosiuk, who started 17th, already up into 8th place. Antonio Zaragoza and David Cudmore having a good run of things at the moment on the brakes into the triangle then for their 3rd revolution of the track. Score complete, and that's a mistake by Jody Mills. They're trying to save the vehicle, does so. What's the expense? Well, there goes the position. Wojciech gets the position made.
Yeah, Mills holding his own at the moment, trying to stay there in the draft, but not quite able to do it, and decides to sit on behind for the time being. It's turn number 1, and he's going to have to be careful because Zaragoza isn't too far behind now and is actually starting to make some inroads based on the pace that he's got.
Absolutely he is, and he's making some great inroads, and will be looking to try and pick up another position as quickly as he possibly can. He knows what he needs to do, and that is start to just pick off drivers one at a time. We've got another driver down here on the lane, and that's Isaac Ruska at the moment, who is down sitting on the lane. Jerry Karlgren trying to get going with the damage, as Ben Fuller currently is the last driver running technically at the moment in 22nd place. But look at this for 3rd all of a sudden. Stefan Piotrowski caught by Marco Sanfilippo, who had a very poor qualifying, getting himself caught out with 1X incidents and the like. He gets 17 in this series at this 17-corner circuit before a drive-through penalty, 25 incidents, and that is a disqualification. But for the time being, Marco Sanfilippo wants a podium. You can see how hard he's working here through 130R. Is this going to be defended? Absolutely it is, to the middle of the road, but there's not much you can do there. He's like a torpedo straight down the inside. There's no way you can stop him.
Yeah, certainly not. Another fantastic move by Marco Sanfilippo to get another position, but Piotrowski's going to try and come back at him around the outside into turn number 1. It's not going to work, and he decides to back out of it. So Marco Sanfilippo with indeed a podium position secured, and now he'll be on the hunt for Clayton McClarty. Wasn't too far up the road.
Absolutely. You've also got this here, as this is Kent Nielsen trying to defend from Andreas Nielsen. Nielsen versus Nilsson at the moment. That's a little bit confusing, but it is Nilsson who gets the move done on Nielsen, and as such, it is Nielsen who will have to stay behind Nilsson at this moment. Next up behind Nielsen is Keith Calhoun, trying to find himself through, and well, at the Alamo, he will try and find a move, but I don't know for many Texas Rangers here in Mie Prefecture, Japan.
Yeah, he probably will struggle to find one of those in the country of Japan, but nevertheless, he's going to give it a red hot go as Calhoun to try and find a way on by Nielsen, but nevertheless, see what happens as they continue to try and find their way past, and obviously aero push being quite the factor, so passing very difficult, and Calhoun trying to get a move done there, but not quite close enough to get a move.
No, he couldn't quite get that one done. Has to play the waiting game through the long 200R, which is actually a left-hand corner. Look at Andreas Nielsen, though, for the moment, because he's trying to find a way through on Ray Griffioen all of a sudden, who's finding himself now looking behind himself more rather than in front. He's 4 seconds behind Joel Dickinson, but ultimately, at this stage, it looks like there could be big damage to the rear of his vehicle as he goes through. Maybe something that we're not quite seeing, because Griffioen right now, you can see, taking the natural racing line, Andreas Nielsen wants to get by Ray Griffioen.
Yeah, he's certainly trying everything he possibly can as Andreas, and he's not quite able to do it at this point in time. Ray Griffioen probably going to be carrying that damage from that impact earlier on in the race on lap 1, but well, he's seeming to be holding his own at the moment, which is quite interesting considering that damage.
Exactly, and that's going to be the key. He's able to just keep at an arm's length here. Andreas Nielsen on lap 6 out of 35. They go on to, at this stage, some great work going on as in comes Ben Fuller once again to make another stop, and that might just be the retirement of Ben Fuller from this race. I don't see much point of running around about 15 seconds off the back of anybody else, with damage doing 137 that last time by whilst crossing the line, so we could have just seen the retirement of Ben Fuller. Will keep you posted in terms of this. But look at Marco Sanfilippo. He's already within a 1 second range of second place Clayton McLeod, and he is driving like the world depends on this result.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he was a whole second quicker that last time by than Clayton McLeod. You can see the gap close on the brake pedal. That it's just so much stronger as Sanfilippo on the brakes and in general over Clayton McLeod, who just can't quite put anything to him. So we'll see how quickly this move happens, but it won't be any time in the it will be in the not too distant future, that's for sure. And obviously another second quicker that last time by.
Well, it's Clayton McLeod who's struggling more rather than Marco Sanfilippo being light years ahead. Marco was 2/10 quicker than Danilo Sanfilippo last time by, but a 33.1 to a 32 flat. That's 1.1 seconds, and you don't need to be Copernicus to work out that that means Marco Sanfilippo will be very close to getting through in the not too distant future. So we will see those have a battle. Another one out on track, though, is Jan Stratinski here in 11th place. Behind him is Adam Webb, trying to find a way through. Cars 20 and 14 then, wanting to battle for 11th and 12th place at the moment. And Adam Webb will want to try and find a way through sooner rather than later.
Yeah, certainly will, especially with the way this track has been with a lot of aero push, so makes it very difficult to try and get through some of these slower corners especially, but nevertheless, Cudmore not too far up the road in Zaragoza and Jody Mills as well, so if Adam Webb can try and get a move done now, he'll be able to try and at least put a charge on to try and catch the drivers ahead, but Sanfilippo's right there now on the back end of Clayton McLeod, moves to the inside, big dive down the inside and locks the front and actually runs wide.
Too deep, and that was always going to be the worry. He's wanted to be deep on the brakes into that corner, but he has just gone and played chicken and ultimately driven off the cliff, so to speak. So now he's got to do that work all over again, and he can't afford to get frustrated like this. Yes, titles in the back pocket. Yes, Sanfilippo won too. They'd absolutely love it, but they cannot afford to lose the vehicle in terms of this race and have a massive accident. Here is Webb, though, trying to get it done side by side with Jan Stratinski down the inside to turn 1 and 2, and the move is categorically scored as complete.
Yeah, very, very easy move there by Adam Webb, and now he'll be on the charge to try and hunt down Cudmore, Zaragoza and Jody Mills in these next few laps to see if he can at least try and put something together to try and move inside that top 10, but nevertheless, that pit stop still going to be happening at some point, so we'll see whether there's any takers in the next 10 or so laps, or whether drivers are going to be trying to run it as far as they possibly can.
Well, there has been a couple of changes of position. Keith Calhoun and Marcel van der Linden have got through on Kent Nielsen. So that is both of them jumping up to positions. Car around, though, that we are seeing here out on circuit. That's not good. That's Wojciech Kosiuk, then, who's gone around in car 24 through the hairpin. He was defending slightly, I think, from Jody Mills and trying to put the power down. It just slightly help you, that exit there. It does bank towards you slightly there, Cam, and that is so easy to catch up and catch drivers out. I've seen it so many times spin on the exit of the Dunlop hairpin.
Yeah, very, very easy thing to do, especially when you're pushing so hard and trying to defend, to try and get a run on the guy behind you, and it's just been so easy to do, and you end up making a mistake like Kusiak did. So that's a number of places that he's lost out, and he's actually dropped behind Andreas Nielsen, so he's all the way back in P16 now, which is not too ideal.
Not too sweet either, because in front behind him is Calhoun and Van der Linden, and Calhoun's going to have to defend this one nice and narrow at this point. They run towards turn number 1 out on track, going to go the long way round, and that is a position given by Keith Calhoun to Marcel Van der Linden there without too many worries or dramas at all when it comes to that overtake. So no real worries at all. Marco Sanfilippo, though, he's been working hard and he is close again to Clayton McLeod and will want to get by very swiftly, as he knows that the first attempt didn't work. Has he shown his hand too early? He's getting a great run here through the spoon curve, and now towards 130R, use the very powerful draft in these Williams Toyota FW31s.
Yeah, tucked right up in the draft of Sanfilippo. Not going to look to the inside of 130R, but is going to actually not get that good of a run through 130R either. Not going to be late enough on the brakes, but gets reasonably close, so he should be able to have a move at turn 1. Gets right up on the diffuser nearly of Clayton McLeod out of the triangle, but not quite getting the run that he needed.
No, not at all. He's very, very twitchy behind Clayton McLeod. He was trying to set up that run to turn number 1, but ultimately he doesn't find it. And now it's going to be a tall order for about 2/3 of a lap to find an overtake. These SS sections really tough to follow behind, and this has always been the Red Bull circuit. Some would have said mainly due to the fact that vehicles like these, you really need a good chassis to get yourself the best run through, and very good downforce through the opening sector. The second sector is all about mechanical grip. It's the stop-start, and then that final sector is all about that high-speed overtake.
Yeah, absolutely. All these slow corners, more or less, are really all about the mechanical grip more than downforce at the end of the day. So if you can get the car to be handling very, very well through there, and a lot of it's tight hairpins and that sort of stuff. So having the ability to get on the power as early and as much as you can is really beneficial, especially in a lot of these corners where you're trying to get a run onto a long straight, with whether it be the likes of Spoon Curve or the exit of the Casio Triangle, that sort of stuff. So it's really, really helpful if you can get on the power as early as you possibly can. But Sanfilippo here doing a really good job of getting a good run of the Spoon Curve through 130 and a big block from Clayton McLeod.
That could have so easily ended in disaster, and some great heads-up driving from Marco Sanfilippo to back out from Clayton McLeod, who's proving he's not going to be a walkover in this race. He is going to fight hard for every single position here in this one. You've got some brilliant battles up and down the field. Jan Stratinsky, David Cudmore.
Oh, no!
At the moment. Oh, huge accident. Both of them into the wall. Well, McLeod's going to get away with it, but Marco Sanfilippo at turn 1, turn 2, they came together through, and who was that trying to go through? That was Marco, completely missing his marker.
Yeah, Marco just went a little bit too deep. Clayton did a fantastic job to hold it around the outside of Sanfilippo, but just a little bit too eager on the brake pedal was Sanfilippo, and just ended up running into the back of the car of Clayton McLeod. And actually Sanfilippo hit the wall as well, so going to be possible damage on that car. Doesn't look like it's got a front wing anymore, unfortunately, but doesn't look like he has indeed retired.
Yes, and he's definitely not going to be gaining any further points on his championship run. Of course, you get drop rounds. It's your best score for the week, and it's very clear to say that Marco Sanfilippo's best score is not here, and he was on a marvellous run. He was up 12 places and fighting for second overall, so everybody jumps up a position now. So McLeod currently drops a long way back. He's in front of Alex Ahuia at the moment, so it's Danilo Sanfilippo leading. It's Stefan Piotrowski in second, it's Clayton McLeod in third, and Alex Ahuia in fourth place. John Pat Kelly fifth, Jody Mills in sixth, seventh is Antonio Zaragoza, and Adam Webb is in eighth place overall at the moment in this race. We have had one pitter actually at this moment in time come in and make a stop, and I believe that is Keith Calhoun, who has come in down onto the lane for a scheduled stop. So he'll be going through, and there's a spinner, and that's McLeod again. At 130R, McLeod again has spun it round. Has he had contact again, or has he done it all on his own? It looks like there's some serious balance issues with the car because it snapped on him.
Yeah, that right-hand side pod looking reasonably second-hand, so I do wonder if he's maybe got some sort of rear downforce issue now with the fact that he's had contact with Sanfilippo, but he's brought it into pit lane. So see if he sits there for a while, or whether he does end up making a compulsory pit stop now. It would be very, very early to make, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens.
You dealt the hand you're given, and that's going to be the key here for Clayton McLeod. He's actually really fortunate there at 130R that he has not run into any dramas hitting another driver by coming back onto circuit or actually hitting the wall. He gets himself off and away again, so repairs seemingly not much you can do, but just having a little look at how he's going to be getting himself going. It looks like everything's all okay as he's made his stop, so getting a fresh set of boots, getting back out and away again and trying to make the run. Here's some battling though. This is Ray Griffioen as Joel Dickinson's going to let both drivers by. Andreas Nilsson as well gets through on Dickinson, so Dickinson playing the long game, just wanting a finish.
Yeah, certainly not a bad thing at this rate that the attrition has been with the likes of Sanfilippo and everyone else starting to fall off the train more or less with making mistakes and having contact and that sort of stuff. So we'll see what happens with the likes of Joel Dickinson and whether he can get a solid result here. But Nielsen still putting on a lot of pressure to Griffioen.
Absolutely he is, and that's been the key from Andreas Nilsson. It's been all about just putting that pressure on. Remember, Andreas Nilsson, yes, he has a grid start of 11th place here today. He's now in 12th -1, but that doesn't reflect the true story. Remember, Cam, he started in pit lane.
Yeah, he certainly did, and again, Andre is really coming through this field very, very well, and he has done over the past few rounds, so he's clearly shown that he's got a lot of racecraft and a lot of good pace as well. So you do have to wonder if he did qualify better, he might stand a chance at actually competing with the likes of those in the top 5.
Exactly, and that's going to be the key. In terms of now who is the biggest mover inside of this field, it's Adam Webb. He's up 15 places here today. He's gone from 22nd all the way up to 7th place at the moment, and behind him is exactly what he wants to see. 3 cars in a close proximity to each other, battling. Cudmore and Stratinsky and Emilio Fernandez as well, who will all be looking to try and get themselves into a nice close scrap.
Yeah, they certainly will be, but they're going to have their work cut out for them to try and get as close as they possibly can with the aero push that's going to be affecting them. And obviously they're going to want to start thinking about a pit stop possibly as well, and whether they want to try and undercut or overcut each other and see what happens. But Strutinsky coming under a lot of pressure now from Emilio, nearly runs into the back of Strutinsky and goes around.
Wow, big spin then, and again, about power application, weight transfer, so crucial in these vehicles. And you can see through the right, a little bump to the back, trying to put the power down to get aggressive, and then trying to keep that gap down. It's so easy to do. You get a little bit heavy-footed on the throttle because you got a little bit of contact, and then all of a sudden, whoopsie, round you go. And Emilio Fernandez now finds himself behind Joel Dickinson in 13th place. How unlucky.
Yeah, not very lucky indeed to end up in P13 after that, especially with the fact that he was on for a top 10 as well. So we'll see what happens in the next coming laps to see whether he can try and recover a result into that top 10. But nevertheless, Ray Griffioen is on for a top 10 here at this point.
Absolutely, he is. And well, actually, I want to keep an eye out on the pace of a few drivers here because you look at Danilo Sanfilippo, he did a 1:32.8. that last time by at the front of the field. Piotrowski, for example, did a 35 flat without really doing anything, I thought, a little bit wrong. He may have had a tyre in the grass or two through a couple of corners, but I wouldn't have thought that was going to be a few seconds that he would have lost overall. But you can see here, off goes Adam Webb, 2 positions lost straight away, and that's a big off, actually, that he's had coming through the spoon curve. You can see he just grabs the brake as he gets a tank slap. The car's starting to go around, and Adam Webb having to use all of everything to get himself going. And Nielsen now trying to find a way through on Griffioen, but he's definitely not finding it.
Yeah, not quite successful into the triangle for Nielsen. It was Nielsen that last time by, so you're trying to turn one in the draft. Griffioen puts it in the middle of the road. Nielsen to the inside. Move done. No, not going to happen. And Griffioen actually runs wide.
There you can see it just wide, and Griffioen spooked there by Nilsson on the inside, and it's so easily done. Has run slightly wide again, and now the mistakes have been compounded. Off of the road, there is Taylor Sims getting out of the way here as lap traffic, but there's Adam Webb straight back again. May have another chance to jump up inside the top 10 once more, and actually there slow is Kent Nielsen as well in front, who's had a spin, had a big moment. He's had 2 straight moments in 2 straight corners.
Yeah, he certainly has. And Emilio Fernandez Garrido's also had a big moment straight into the wall through the S's as well. Big hit with the wall. Just caught the inside curb, but the rear end was gone, and that was it. That's all she wrote.
That's a huge accident there that we've just seen, as it's now starts to get close here in the battle for the podium. Alex O'Huia, John Pat Kelly, and of course you've got Jody Mills and Antonio Zaragoza, who are not a million miles away from this at the moment. John Pat Kelly's late pace in this opening stint has been sensational at this point. Watch the gap as they cross the line. 33.7 Alex O'Huia, 33.7 John Pat Kelly. They are matching each other 10th for 10th at this point. The gap 0.8 of a second though, and that's the key. Can't close down the gap.
Yeah, just can't quite close the gap at this point, although we'll see what happens in terms of pit strategies, whether John Pat Kelly is maybe going to look to try and do an early stop to try and get some clean air, or whether Hoya is going to go a little bit longer and try and hold up John Pat Kelly. We'll see what happens, but Jody Mills not too far back, like you said, so we'll see whether Mills can try and close in on these two who are seemingly fighting quite hard at this point.
But the key here for Jody Mills has been his last lap at 34.6. Was nearly a second slower than these drivers in front. Antonio Zaragoza was the fastest of the 4 on a 33.4. So now Zaragoza may be finding exactly what he wants from this race at this moment in time. We are heading over the halfway stage after the next laps run through this circuit. Danilo Sanfilippo's lead right now is eye-watering here as he's running mid-132s. It's up over 15 seconds.
Yeah, 15 seconds over Piotrowski, who's been doing actually a really, really good job at the moment to sit in P2 and just make up for all the mistakes and all the crashes that everybody else has had. So it'll be the best result of the season if he can keep going the way he is to end up getting P2 at the stage. But nevertheless, we'll see what happens. And at the moment, Jody Mills is really there or thereabouts with John Pat Kelly now by the looks of it.
Absolutely he is. So John Pat Kelly will be hoping to try and get himself a way through, but O'Huia pulling out 2/10. The gap now 1 second, and that's not ideal for the way this race wants to be run for John Pat Kelly. He may have to do something very, very clever in the stops if anything is to change in terms of the way this race is for 3rd and 4th place here at Suzuka, the final round of the season, and there's so much great racing action coming up over the next week and a half and so, Cam, because of course you've got Monday night V8s that'll be coming up. That's going to be an absolute treat. And then in week 13, in collaboration with the Global Sim Racing Channel, WTF1's 10th anniversary event. It is going to be an absolute spectacle.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's a very, very good lineup in the commentary booth with obviously yourself, Bo Albert, and Nelson's actually around, so he's had a moment there into the hairpin, and I dare say that's probably another one of those cases of too early on the throttle and it's just gone around.
Absolutely. Just a small tap into the silver Armco barrier, and back off and away goes the 1 lap down. Kent Nielsen in 18th position at the moment in this event. So not ideal at all. No takers yet onto pit lane out of those who are leading this race right now. But ultimately, I'm looking at John Pat Kelly going, I'm not looking in front, I'm looking behind here. 32.8 Alex O'Huia, 32.9 John Pat Kelly, 32.6 Jody Mills, and it is Mills who is starting to close.
Yeah, certainly is starting to close now. And Webb trying to go around the outside of Ray Griffioen, not quite going to be close enough to get the job done. I'm going to have to sit station, but nearly gets the runner, and big motor slide on the exit.
He absolutely had that massive slide, and he's run slightly wide there through the 3rd S. there of the 4. Now through the big left, of course, here that's the incident where the late Jules Bianchi had his moment, but going through that left and then towards the 2 Degner corners, Degner 1, Degner 2, a little bit slower, and it's such a scary part of the track, a thrilling part of the track, though, those 2 Degner corners. They almost feel juxtaposed to the circuit cam. They don't feel like they belong in this Suzuka track, but that's part of its essence, part of its love for this track. Those Degner curves are arguably the 2 toughest corners on the circuit.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they can catch any driver out, especially if you get a little bit too eager on the turn with being slightly too early. And you have to remember, this was a test track at some point, so it's got pretty much everything you could possibly want in terms of corners and straights and just a general mix of everything. So it's going to be interesting as Ahoya is onto the pit lane to do his pit stop.
He absolutely is. He comes in from 3rd position. We know that those who come in later are in best places. Cudmore dives in as well. Here's a battle on the front stretch. This is Andreas Nielsen right now against Jan Stratinsky as they head themselves towards turn number 1. It's not going to be close enough right now, but Jan's going to be looking behind at Nielsen, who you can see closes right up through the mid-apex of the corner.
Yeah, very, very big pace differential there for Nielsen, and do you have to wonder if he's maybe running slightly more downforce to help counter the aero push that traffic is going to be generating, but nevertheless, Nielsen doing a fantastic job to now put himself inside that top 10 in terms of outright pace with the way that he's been going, and not too far off from getting past Strutinsky.
Ehuia away and Co are also out and away, but it is all about Nielsen right now. Maybe a look at Dunlop, not quite placed for that one to happen, taking the big wide line to open out the exit, but couldn't get the power down enough. And Jan Stratinsky is defending very well in terms of that battle going on track. So here's the next question. Does anybody decide to cover off the move of Alex Ehuia and David Cudmore coming down onto the lane? John Pat Kelly might need a fresh set here right now because Jody Mills, you can see, is within that 1 second margin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with John Pat Kelly and whether he decides to try and get a pit stop done, and he actually does react, so he's come on in, but Andreas Nielsen is on by Jan Strutinsky, so another position gained.
Absolutely a great move there over the back straight. Oh, it's one of the few figure 8 circuits in racing and has managed to get that one going. So we'll keep an eye on John Pat Kelly. Where will he step out? Because actually out of the pits comes your race leader, Danilo Sanfilippo. And you can see here, he's side by side with Antonio Zaragoza and he's going to let himself go. Has he had a spin? That's Mills.
He is.
Wow, so let's get a look at this. So Jody Mills, a huge accident coming out to turn 2. You can see the back goes around and bang! That's a heavy, heavy hit. Flips 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before landing on all 4s.
Yeah, big moment for Jody Mills, unfortunately, and just so easy to do at that point in time, especially on the older tyres. But nevertheless, Ahoya has indeed stayed here of John Pat Kelly for the podium position.
He has, and that's been key with the stop. So now, how do you get that back over the next 16 laps worth of racing? 15 and a half now as they head through the 2 Degners. So John Pat Kelly and Alex Ehuia in a real scrap. Worth noting, Danilo Sanfilippo has come out of the pits in 3rd place after his stop. And down onto the lane comes Stefan Piotrowski then to go and make his 1 scheduled stop on lap 20 of this race, and that actually should put Zaragoza now in the race lead, with Danilo Sanfilippo struggling on that outlap there, just trying to get himself into a rhythm. But Antonio Zaragoza now will lead this race outright for his first time here in this series.
Yeah, certainly going to be leading for the first time in the series, but nevertheless, we'll see where Piotrowski comes out. He's going to come out in roughly the same place that he did, but we'll see where in relation to sort of everybody else, the likes of everybody else who's yet to come out. Obviously, yeah, miles ahead.
That's a crazy, crazy margin he's managed to build up over that stop. there is Alex O'Leary right now, 34.2. Here's the last lap, but you can see Piotrowski just a couple of S's ahead, so that's about 6, 7, maybe 8 seconds he's got of a margin at this moment, and that's really quite a hefty one at that. Adam Webb out of the pits with Ray Griffioen and Jan Stratinsky. Stratinsky holding off the advances of Ray Griffioen at this moment, but Adam Webb, with work to do, will want to try and chase this down.
Yeah, certainly we'll want to try and chase this down. Will Adam Webb obviously didn't quite have, well, had a moment nearly earlier on trying to get his way up the field, but nevertheless is managing to do a fantastic job at this point. Jan Strutinsky and Griffioen still not too far up the road and still yet to pit, as well as Adam Webb, so we'll see what happens here and whether he's going to possibly use the pit stop to his advantage to try and find a way on by these two or not, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens.
We absolutely will. Zaragoza still leading this race, but it's all about strategy now. We've seen how the stops worked for a lot of drivers, but now it's all about execution in the second half of this race. They've got to make sure that they execute the one result that they will be hoping for. They've already raced for about half an hour here overall, and there are a handful of drivers who have yet to come down in and make a stop. Antonio Zaragoza, Andreas Nielsen, the big two who have yet to make that decision to come down onto the lane, and it is very telling. And now this is something that's not often talked about, but does need to be mentioned here with this race, Cam, and that is fuel. These drivers do put fuel in the vehicles. They do have a lot of work to do when that fuel comes in, and that's why drivers want to come in later rather than earlier, because not only is it easier on the tyres, but you can see right now with Danilo Sanfilippo, Andreas Nielsen has caught him and may very well get past. Oh no, he won't. He's got
once again, the curve catching him out, and he actually had a second half spin as well, just trying to get away, so possibly having some minor issues. Obviously those tires are going to be slightly heated up as well from that spin, but nevertheless we'll see when Nielsen is going to come out in terms of the pit stop, because that's going to have hurt him a bit.
It certainly will, and I will hold my hands up and wholeheartedly apologise for that one for Andreas Nielsen and say that one's on me with the curse of the commentators, and you can have a little bit of a something with me for that. Replay then up on your screen, brought to you by Motum Simulation. This is Adam Webb. Oh, it's a big one for Adam Webb, and he's done very well to keep it out of the barriers again.
Yeah, very, very lucky to not end up being fired off into the outside wall there. He's just caught the grass on the exit, and it's just bitten him pretty hard. So very lucky to have managed to save that and only gone through the gravel and not into the wall.
So in comes Zaragoza and in comes Nielsen for their stops, about 2 seconds apart. They are at the moment. Nielsen just looking to hit his marks now. Out and away already goes Antonio Zaragoza, trying to get himself going, and he should come out nicely behind John Pat Kelly. So that would put him net in this race. 5th place at the moment for Zaragoza. Nielsen's going to come out behind Stratinsky and behind Ray Griffioen as well. So that's not going to be ideal. Time has been lost by Nielsen, but he'll have the precious tyres at the lot, mind you.
Yeah, he certainly will, and he showed that he's had some very, very good pace, so we'll see what Nielsen can do with that new rubber and whether he can use it to his advantage or not, but at the moment, Strutinsky doing a really good job to hold off Griffioen as well.
Absolutely he is, and that's being the key right now, just holding off drivers now, just keeping them away at a distance, and Ray Griffioen knows that he's got to get a lot closer to Jan Stratinsky if he is to go and find that overtake, which is going to get the result that he wants out of this. This has been a race full of attrition here today, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Karlgren, Chris Owen, Isak Ruska, you got Ben Fuller, Marco Sanfilippo, and Marcel van der Linde, along with Jody Mills as well. All drivers who have run into troubles here today and find themselves pretty much out of this event. And we've also got a handful of drivers who have not had the best runs and find themselves a lap down or close to that, like Clayton McLeod, John Owens, Emilio Fernandez, Kent Nielsen from Club Florida, Taylor Sims. We've seen so many drivers run into a few troubles here and a few troubles there here today, and Suzuka is proving itself to be one of the toughest circuits on the iRacing calendar, underrated for how difficult it is.
Yeah, it certainly is. On paper, it looks reasonably easy, but when you actually drive it at 10 tenths, like these drivers are, it suddenly becomes a quick realization of how difficult it really is, especially with some of these corners where it bites you very hard if you do make a mistake, whether it be a curb or just the ability to spin the wheels up so easily. So, unfortunately, a number of drivers falling victim to this very, very technical and difficult track, but nevertheless, it's been putting on some awesome racing so far throughout the field.
Has done. He's still on for third, remember, as Alex O'Huea in car number 12 keeps John Pat Kelly in car number 5 at a very, very close distance. But for the time being, John Pat Kelly must be starting to get a little bit frustrated at seeing the back of that Williams Toyota just in front. And actually, I'm going to use this point to actually talk about Williams for a second, because you talk about this legacy of Williams vehicles. They've been championship winning. They've been absolutely fantastic. It was saddening in the news earlier this week to hear that they're actually looking at selling the team on with the fact they made 13 million in losses over the last year, and they have parted ways with their title sponsor Rocket. So you start to look at things and go, well, Williams arguably deserves to be lauded in the annals of history as one of the great racing teams. But in terms of what they've done for sim racing, in terms of the legendary vehicles that they've created, surely someone will come in and try and help them out.
Yeah, you do have to wonder and hope that someone's going to at least put their hand up and try and help a team that's been one of the big heavy hitters and one of the teams that everybody seems to turn around and always love. There is indeed a car around.
Josh Owens, is Josh Owens under the bridge? There is Ray Griffey-Owen as well, having his little scrap. So Owens there having a huge spin. He keeps it out of the wall, but Griffey-Owen and Nielsen right now through the S's. Look at this, on the back of Jan Stratinsky. It is a huge scrap. Look at Nielsen. Is he going to try and put it down the inside of Degner 1? He tries it, but he has to... Oh, no! Horribly wrong on the curb. It's one of the toughest corners, and is he going to get run into there by Joel Dickinson, who somehow threads the gap on the outside? A huge spin for Nielsen.
Yeah, and that's just what the Digners can do. If you touch that inside curb just wrong, it's going to end up biting you back. So not too ideal for Nielsen, and I do think there was contact, but it's hard to tell. But we'll see what happens. Whether Nielsen's going to keep on going or whether he's going to pit.
Look at Zaragoza now on the back of John Pat Kelly and Alex O'Huea all of a sudden. So now we've got a 3-car scrap here going on for third place overall. 3 drivers, 1 spot on the podium, and Antonio Zaragoza, remember, is trying to get this one done on the overcut as he's going to try and make the move down at turn number 1, looking for the inside. Not quite close enough here in the braking zone to get the move sorted, but Zaragoza now going to try and challenge the very experienced John Pat Kelly.
Yeah, certainly is. And obviously John Pat Kelly has shown that he's got a lot of experience in these cars, and he's been driving them for quite some time now. So he's obviously no slouch in these things and is one to be reckoned with. But he's done a fantastic job to hold off Zaragoza at this point in time, who seems to have a lot of pace. A 32.7 that last time by to John Pat Kelly's 33.8, and then obviously O'Huea doing a 33.9. So there's a lot of pace in Zaragoza at the moment, and is going to be able to find a way past in no time.
Well, catching is one thing, though. Passing is very much another. It's the most famous line in all of racing, because everybody knows that you can get onto the back of a driver, yeah, that's fine, but then you've got to deal with the dirty air effect and find a way through on a driver who will be strongly defending. Look at O'Huea now, trying to open up every exit out on track, and there's going to be double draft here down the stretch. Look at this run. John Pat Kelly's going to go for it. Zaragoza's now got to try and pick a lane here. He's boxed in and has to lift out of it then. O'Huea's going to put the power down through 130R, almost side by side as they go on through, and on the brakes to the triangle. O'Huea really defending this one hard. He's left the door slightly open, but he's done so well to hold it up, and this is the issue Zaragoza has. He can't find a way through on a driver that wants to attack.
Yeah, certainly. It's making life difficult for Zaragoza at the moment as John Pat Kelly, but he's going to try everything he possibly can. Not going to be able to get a move done into turn 1, but you saw that he tried to set the run up into turn 1, just couldn't quite get it done at the end of the day, and he's going to lose out a little bit here as well to John Pat Kelly in that last corner alone.
Absolutely he is, and that's going to be a little bit worrying, the fact that he's not finding exactly what he wants. He'll need to gather it up again in the second half of the lap if anything is to work the way that it should right now. We've got some other battles on track. Joel Dickinson and Adam Webb are fighting for 9th and 10th place, and Ray Griffioen right now staying with Jan Stratinsky. This is 7th and 8th on the road, split by just 1 second. As look at this, trying to get it done is Zaragoza at the hairpin, and John Pat Kelly had to hit the brakes there to try and keep the car settled through 200 right around the outside. Oh, that is sensational. Antonio Zaragoza, has he got himself getting that right? And all the way from San Sebastian, all the way down to Seville, he has made that one look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, he certainly has. He set that one up an absolute treat, has Zaragoza, and he's done the old under and over, and it's been an absolutely perfect execution by Zaragoza to get the position off John Pat Kelly. Now he's going to be on the hunt for Hoya to try and get this final podium spot, which he very much dearly is trying to get.
He's trying to get it, but you can see right now the podium's going to be a taller order. There is Alex O'Weir. He's been able to pull out a gap of 1 second and a little bit right now, but Zaragoza, if he's still got life in the tyres, he's got time to attack. He's got 7 laps when they next cross the line to go and get it done. So 8 laps to get the move done, and there's a spinner, and that's Ray Griffioen down there at the final corner. So he's just tried to put the power down. You're always turning and putting the momentum in, and the back steps out once, twice, and he hits the attenuator.
Yeah, very, very easy to do there, especially with the fact that the track actually drops away as well. So not only is the rear already unstabilized from the fact that you're trying to accelerate and also have to turn at the same time, it then gets even more unloaded. So it's one of those corners that really doesn't like to be more or less messed with, and you really have to look after yourself through there to try and just, rather than get a run, you just have to try and look after the car and not put yourself in the wall. But at the moment, Adam Webb putting a lot of pressure on Joel Dickinson at the moment for this final spot inside the top 8.
Exactly, and you can see Dickinson starting to struggle a little bit, runs wide through the hairpin, just using a little bit of track there. He's got it all to use, but look at Webb. He's looking so racy here as he makes his way up to Spoon. Can he get it done down the inside here of this left-hand corner? Oh, he struggles a little bit. He'll have to stay narrow here now through this next section, but Dickinson gives him the room and decides, you know what, Adam, you deserve that position. I've got nothing for you in terms of the race. Some great racing. We've also got this battle going on 1 lap down in the field. This is Kent Nielsen and John Owens going at it for 15th and 16th.
Yeah, certainly. Even further back, it's still going on pretty hard at the moment between the drivers, like you said, but nevertheless, we'll see what comes of it and whether the likes of Kent Nielsen can try and find a way on by John Owens, who's doing an all right job to hold on to a top 15 at this stage. But we'll see a little bit of a pace differential, so Kent Nielsen should be able to find a way on by. But at Zaragoza is just behind at the moment, behind Ahoya.
And they're both going to converge on each other right now. You can see just in front how Nielsen wants to get through on Owens. Owens will defend it, but now they start to insert themselves in the battle. They have their right to battle. iRacing rules say that it's the drivers behind who need to find a way cleanly through on the drivers in front. Nielsen's going to have to try and go to the inside here at Spoon if he's to get this one done, but again, can't get it done. Owens runs wide and will drop all the places in the world. Ahoya's got to be careful as they make the run through, because this could be Zaragoza's chance to pick up this position. Owens needs to fall back into line here potentially and lift himself off the brakes, because he's cost the run now for Zaragoza, and the chance goes begging this lap through as they make their way to the Casio Triangle. Alex O'Weir, all of a sudden, look how much Zaragoza closes under brakes, and just behind them, John Pat Kelly.
Yeah, John Pat Kelly starting to come back into this battle, possibly with the way that these guys are getting held up by the lap traffic of Kent Nielsen, but Ahoya not quite within reaching distance of Zaragoza this time by, so he's going to have to wait another lap as Antonio, but he's still going to try everything he possibly can to try and find a way on by as the car of Kent Nielsen just casually gets out of the way. Well, it's one way of getting out of the way, not quite the ideal way, but he does indeed get out of the way.
I wouldn't have called that a casual crash, I'll put it that way, as Kent Nielsen, who has been in all sorts of trouble all day long, finds himself in the barrier. Around he goes, and should be very close to 17 incident points at this moment in time, which could get him a drive-through penalty. But look at this. Letting through Zaragoza is Alex Ahoya for the podium. Knows that resistance will be futile for the last 5.5 laps. Decides there's a lot more better things on it than fighting it out against Zaragoza. Zaragoza now has the podium.
Yeah, certainly does. So he's on past Ahoya with a fantastic move a few corners ago. So we'll see whether Zaragoza can try and pull away. He won't want to make any mistakes, especially with only about 6 laps to go, or 5 laps to go this time by. So we'll see what he can do. But now the question is, can John Pat Kelly catch back up to Alex Ahoya and try and get back inside that top 4?
Well, the gap was 1.6 seconds when they last crossed the line, and John Pat Kelly looks like he has closed that gap down in terms of overall. That 1.6 was between Kelly and Zaragoza. The gap now stands as they cross the line to 1 second exactly. So John Pat Kelly's got to work hard. Alex Ahoya's got to stay within a second now of Zaragoza to keep the draft. It's that draft which will start to drag drivers in as Nielsen comes in to make his stop, just getting out of the way of the likes of Adam Webb. But there is one driver you cannot fault so far in this race, and that has been Danilo Sanfilippo, who, let's not forget here, Cam, on SimSpeed broadcast and actually throughout the entire season, has been unable to pick up a race win.
Yeah, he actually hasn't, despite the fact that he's had some very, very good pace. He's had some unfortunate luck as well, bear in mind. So just really going to be hoping that he can bring this one home and get at least one win on the table for the season. But nevertheless, we'll see what happens in the next few laps and whether he can indeed come home with the win. He's casually cruising around at this stage, obviously doing very, very quick lap times, but still cruising in terms of his own pace and is 16 seconds up the road from Piotrowski. So if he does make a mistake, can probably get away with it, but he won't want to make one.
No, he definitely won't. Look at Ray Griffioen for a moment, though, here with a handful of laps remaining, because he has closed a whole second on that last lap on Jan Stratinsky. This is for 9th and 10th place on the road, and not a million miles away is Wojciech Kosiuk as well, who might just pick something up if those two drivers in front start to run into 6s and 7s.
Yes, certainly. He's there to pounce if anything goes untoward between Griffioen and Strutinsky. And obviously, if they do start to battle quite hard as well, they will just close that gap up even more. So, Kosiuk kind of hoping for a bit of a miracle here, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens.
We certainly will. We've also got John Pat Kelly right now having a fantastic drive. He's got the gap down to 0.4 of a second at 33 flat. That last revolution of the circuit through the long left-hander up the hill and looking now towards the 2 Degner corners that come up next. On the brakes hard for the first one. 219Ks, get it all the way down to 137 before back on the power. John Pat Kelly goes and up the hill looking for the braking zone of the hairpin. He's taking that wider entry into the corner. He's tried to unlock it, but you can see how much time he's lost. He's lost about 4 car lengths on what he's needed. That gap now looking about 0.7 of a second. It'll be all closed up on the run to 130R. Yeah,
it certainly will be, with the fact that the draft is going to be playing a nice help to John Pat Kelly off Ahoya's car, but we'll see whether John Pat Kelly can get a move done. He's running out of laps. There's going to be 3 laps to go this time by, so if he needs to get a move done, he needs to do it in these next few laps.
Absolutely he does, and this is the key. Can he find himself in a range to make the move? Ahoya is doing just enough through the Casio Triangle, but look at that run from John Pat Kelly at that section. There's nothing you can do right here now, Alex. You can see to the inside, and he's going to have to lift off here and let him have it, you feel, and he does just that. So John Pat Kelly, a well-deserved overtake up into 4th position with 3 laps to go. Now he's just got to hold it.
Yeah, certainly. Just needs to cruise on away from Alex Ahoya and try and at least bring this one home with 3 laps to go. Make no mistakes and just continue to put in the nice, clean laps that he has been doing.
And it's all about nice, clean laps from now to the end. It's a dirty track, part of the iRacing system. You can drag all of the dirt that comes off the circuit, all of the grass, all of the marbles that build up off of the tyres, they all do make a big difference around this place. And running on a dirty track compared to a clean track that you definitely run in practice, you really cannot replicate all of those drivers running off and driving on this sort of track state, Cam.
Yeah, certainly. It's very, very difficult to replicate, and you can't really replicate it, like you said, unless you've got all those drivers doing the exact same stuff in that session. So it's one of those things that you just kind of got to take and more or less adapt yourself to it. Obviously, the likes of the marbles and the dirt, all going to be thrown up and thrown around by various different drivers, and the more drivers, the more dirt and the more marbles there's going to end up being. So you've kind of drive around it and more or less adapt yourself to what the track is doing. Obviously, the more drivers that are on it, the more rubbers that's going to go down as well. So that's another thing, but Cudmore is really not having a good time.
Well, here we go, side by side through 130R for 6th place. Adam Webb trying to get this one sorted. On the brakes they go. Not close enough there. So Adam Webb has worked hard to get back to Cudmore here. 34th lap from Cudmore. Adam Webb, a 132.5 that last time, but it was only half a second off of your race leader. Look how much he's working. He wants 6th place. He wants to be plus 16. Looks to the inside, looks to the outside. Kimi Räikkönen, Giancarlo Fisichella, why don't we? But the difference is he couldn't find the move.
Yeah, couldn't quite get close enough to get a move done and couldn't quite find a space to put his car into to get the move done. So he's going to have to sit behind David Cudmore for another lap to try and see if he can get a move done next time by at 130R or possibly at turn 1. But he's driven a really good race as well, Adam Webb, to end up getting the number of positions that he's gained and also just to stay out of trouble the entire time.
Last lap starts for Danilo Sanfilippo here, and 5.81 kilometers remain in this iRacing season in terms of championship points and great results. Still on though, Webb and Cudmore side by side coming out of Dunlop, and they'll go through 200 right, and Cudmore may just decide to lift out of this one. He does, and he's going to have to here, as there is Adam Webb now up a fantastic 16 places in this race. And how sweet are they? The biggest mover right now, Joel Dickinson, is up 17, currently in 8th place overall at this stage. The likes of, say, Antonio Zaragoza and John Pat Kelly getting on their last laps for the moment, but it's also worth keeping in mind that Cudmore's going to try and come back, but he's not quite able to on the outside of the Casio Triangle chicane. Griffey Owen has fallen off of the back of Jan Stratinsky a little bit, but attentions now start to turn towards Danilo Sanfilippo, who's making his way now towards the Spoon Curve. He has been the most consistent driver over the course of the season. His results have been fantastic. He's always been there, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, throughout the entirety of this racing calendar. But in this series, it is all about race wins, and the fact that he couldn't find a race win was the one sole reason why he couldn't put a championship run together. That's the hindrance of the drop round. But through the Casio Triangle, it's been a long slog for 3 months, for 12 weeks, but Danilo Sanfilippo wins here at Suzuka at long last. It will be a long wait for Stefan Piotrowski, who's 18 seconds and more behind. He's only coming through the final corner now to get over the start-finish line, and it will be Antonio Zaragoza who will get the podium after an incredible display of recovery driving despite going off at turn number 1 out on track. Some brilliant work going in here, Cam, but it's not over yet. Ray Griffioen may have a last semblance, a last gasp chance against Jan Stratinsky.
Yeah, he's tucked right up in the draft, this Ray Griffioen at the moment as they head to 130R. Runs very wide to nearly end up on the AstroTurf. He's not quite going to break late enough, but can he get the run onto the line? Is locked up as Stratinsky, and this is going to allow Griffioen to try and get a run, but he's not quite going to get it. And Stratinsky, is going to just hold on for 9th.
It's a quick run to the line as well, so if you're going to get it done, you've got to get it done quickly. Last drive to come over the line will be Keith Calhoun in 13th position. He is car number 13. You always try to equal or beat your number. He has done exactly that by getting up to 13th place in this event. So confirmation then of results. Danilo Sanfilippo in 54 minutes and 47 seconds wins by 16 seconds come the end over Stefan Piotrowski, with Antonio Zaragoza there in third position just behind. John Pat Kelly gets fourth with Alex Ahuya in fifth, and Adam Webb up 16 places with 2 offs as well, mind you, to get sixth place overall. David Cudmore, he gets a very well-deserved 7th place, with Joel Dickinson getting the biggest mover and shaker award, up 17 spots to 8th place, as Jan Stratinsky had to hold off a late charge from Ray Griffioen in the battle for 9th and 10th place.
And 11th is Wojciech Kuziak, and followed by Clayton McLeod on 12th, 13th to Keith Calhoun, Amelia Fernandez in 14th, 15th to John Owens, Kent Nelson in 16th, Taylor Sims in 17th, and that is all your finishes before we head to DNF. So you've got Nelson, Mills, Vanderlind, Sanfilippo, Fuller, Rusiak, Owen, and Karlgren.
Yes, a big retirement list here today of cars that did not make it over the start-finish line to end this event. And the retirements, they're listed as 17th to 25th, so that is 8 drivers who did not get the results that they wanted here today. But very, very crucially, it has been a sensational season. And while it's not the result that he would have wanted, a non-finish to end the year off, Cam, it is Marco Sanfilippo who picks up the championship, and he did so with some very, very hard-fought victories over the likes of Mark Usher over the course of the season. He had to really work hard to get any sort of ground, 5-6 wins, and that pretty much put him in prime pickings for the championship.
Yeah, it certainly did, and just that consistency of those good results gave him the ability to put himself in that contention and pretty much scoring the championship very, very easily. So big congrats to Marco on such an awesome season, and can't wait to see what happens next season.
Exactly, and the only place you can catch that is here with SimSpeed TV, but it's been a sensational season once again, but it's not over in terms of broadcast, because you've got, of course, your Monday night V8s. They come up and they're going to be absolutely sensational to end the season. Get this, Mount Panorama. It couldn't be written in the stars any more than that. But on top of that, some brilliant events happening in week 13. You've got the WTF1 charity event in collaboration with the Global Sim Racing channel, and as well as that, Max Bant's 10, the Legend of Banter Skyward Flawed, is going to be coming along on Saturday night Australian. But a massive thanks goes to Motum Simulations to get everything done on the replay ends as sponsors. Jay Kennedy has been on the cameras, and Cam Dance has been alongside me. I've been Jake Sperry, and the story of this season has been one of 2 titans looking to battle. But when one titan decided he couldn't race anymore, he fell by the wayside. It was up to the other to pick the mantle up. But it was crucial for Danilo today. He picks up the result he wants to say, I'm not just here to fill up the podium. I'm not just here to pick up 2nd and 3rd place checks. I'm here to pick up big wins overall. So a big congratulations to Danilo Sanfilippo, and we hope to see you very soon.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
6 very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?